No, I shoot these professionally too, you know.
Yeah, a little bit.
Time or two.
Every once in a while. All right, welcome back, Facebook. We are here at the Bee Stinger booth with a guy that some of you guys might recognize, most of you might recognize, Tim Gillingham. Tim, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into the products for us.
Well, I mean, I've been working at Gold Tip for 15 years, shooting professionally for about 35 years. Shoot a variety of different types of competition, from FITA, field, 3D, IBO, ASA. So kind of a tinkerer, I guess. You know, I like to experiment a lot, and you know, the subject today is kind of, you know, dear to me because it really was a big game changer, you know, for me when I learned a lot about stabilization. So.
All right. So like Tim said, guys, we're talking about stabilization, specifically Bee Stinger stabilization. Background to Bee Stinger. Everybody sees them on our shelves.
Sure.
Can you kind of give us a brief rundown of the history?
Sure. Yeah. Well, Bee Stinger, you know, my first introduction to Bee Stinger come out with a bow hunter freestyle system similar to this, and their answer was just a stabilizer that maximized the stabilization for the length of the bar that was allowed in competition, and that's where they got their start. They were then the first company to come out with a really high-end, very expensive stabilizer that incorporated high modulus graphite.
Yep.
And I think up to that point, you know, I think people were just afraid of the sticker shock, you know, of the price tag of using high modulus graphite, but it definitely created a much better bar. What you're looking for in a stabilizer is the principles of stabilization are always the same, and it's a very confusing topic because a lot of guys don't really know where to go, and some companies, you know, kind of one size fits all or one setup fits all. It doesn't work that way.
No.
And for me, I was kind of the same way. You know, as a competitive shooter, I won with a lot of different crazy looking setups and just dealt with it because I could never get the bow to aim, and I just always thought it was me. So when Greg Poole kind of introduced me, and Blair, who started Bee Stinger, kind of introduced me to the Bee Stinger line of bars, it really was an eye-opener for me, and it really taught me how to use stabilization to help me hold better. And right now, it's one of the most integral parts of my game.
Yeah, I completely understand and agree with you there. As far as 2018 goes, we're, at least at the shop, we're getting into target. Leagues start actually Monday when we get back from the show.
Okay.
Is there anything new for 2018 that guys are going to be throwing on their bows?
Well, 2018 we have the new micro hex bar system. Now this bar here doesn't have the graphics on it. We didn't have it, you know, quite ready for the show. It's a new skinnier bar system. It's got a new material that's kind of, you know, it's called countervail. It's a layer on the inside that acts as a dampening feature to the carbon. Calms vibration. So when you got a stabilizer like a Premier Plus, it's very stiff, and it also creates a little more resonance because it's. And some people complain about that. I think where you're really going to see this shine, if it gets a lot of exposure, is Olympic recurve shooters, because Olympic recurve shooters with those upright limbs transfer a lot more energy into the stabilizer system, and I think they're going to really like this bar system for that. We got a few guys out shooting it already. Bridger Deaton took 5th last weekend at Iowa with it. He's running a lot of weight on it and likes it in a 30-inch bar. I would say, you know, I shoot in a 36-inch bar. I think the Premier Plus is probably better for me, but it kind of depends. I mean, I don't think you can get too stiff in a stabilizer system, really. So as long as you like the, you know, you're comfortable with the resonance and the shock absorption you're getting out of a Premier Plus, I still think it's an absolutely top-of-the-line rig. But this new system is super popular. We're getting tons of orders on it. People really like the looks of it, the feel of it. I mean, I'm sure it's slightly better in the wind because of the diameter. It incorporates the same weights. But you can, if you put it on a bow and compare 30 against 30 or 33 against 30, you can definitely feel the dampening effect of it.
Yeah.
And we've got this incorporated in the target bars. It comes in 2 different colors in your 10, 12, and 15-inch back bars, and, you know, 20, 24, 27, 30, 33, and 36-inch front bars. So you got a full line of that coming out, probably available about 1st of February.
Okay.
Somewhere around that time frame.
What do I got here? This is something I saw and it jumped out at
yeah,
me right
this is really kind of a neat addition to this year. We've taken the micro hex bar, you know, off of the the counterslide system we had last year. So the counterslide was introduced last year, and it was a very good system which mounted the stabilizer off the side of the bow like we have here. Okay? What that allows you to do is keep a longer lightweight system that's micro-tunable, you know, to cancel the reaction of the bow, and, you know, to allow you to put weight front and back depending on how you push or pull into the shot. For me, it was, you know, I was running this 15-inch bar on my hunting bow, and it's a nice lightweight option. It kind of depends on, you know, what type of hunting you're doing.
Yeah.
I've always told guys, if you're climbing up in a tree stand, it's kind of hard to beat mass weight at the moment of truth.
Yeah.
And it's where you put that mass weight that's going to help you aim, help cancel the bow reaction, things like that. Now, this Sport Hunter combo system you see here rigged up with the micro hex is another really good option. It's kind of just a shorter version of our target bars, kind of hard to beat, but in a single bar system, this can kind of do the same thing. It just doesn't have as much adjustment this way, and you can't really make the overall moment arm quite as long, but it's very compact for a tree stand. It's out of the way. It offsets the weight of the quiver in the sight, and I think it's a very, very good setup. And it's also available this year with a new quick disconnect. So we just basically have added a dovetail bar here, kind of like a sight bar. This part will mount to your bow so you can slide it on or off, slide it in or out, and makes it easy to stash in the, you know, in your bow case, or adjust it onto your bow. Now you can pivot it this way, but you can also adjust it in and out also.
So you said something about how, depending on your holding weight or how much you're pulling, you know, there's guys that'll walk out of the shop that, you know, they're happy with a bare bow, no stabilizer at the front.
Yeah.
And there's guys that were putting something like this on there.
Well,
what does a stabilizer do? Why is it?
Well, I'll tell you the best way for me to illustrate what a stabilizer does is a stabilizer is what we call a moment arm, okay? And the principles of stabilization are, we want to create a moment arm. The stiffer that moment arm is, then the longer it is, the less you're going to be able to move it in the middle, right?
Yep.
So if we put weight out here on the end of these bars, it's harder for us to move the bow in the middle. So that cancels our mistakes out. It slows down our motion. I mean, you've never seen a guy walk a tight wire with a bar sticking out one side, have you?
Yeah, no.
You know, or you haven't seen them do it with a real short bar, because it's the long bar that cancels motion in the middle. Now, there's give and take in every scenario. One size does not fit all, okay?
Yeah.
You know, the way I try to explain it to people, and we'll start with a hunting bow.
Yeah.
The first thing you want to do with a hunting bow is you just want to shoot it without a stabilizer on it. You want to see how the bow reacts. Now, one of the worst things that can happen with a hunting bow is that it kicks back at you this way. Okay, if you got a bow that's kicking back, that means you got to get your bar out further and add more weight to the front, because the first thing you want to do is stop that reaction and get it more neutral. Okay, from that point, then we can start working on the aim.
Yep.
And aim is going to be, the ratio of front to back weight is going to be based off of how we push and pull and where we put those pressures, okay? So if you're a guy that's real static and real soft on the back end, you're probably not going to want a lot of weight out front, because you're not going to have the resistance to hold it still. If you're a guy like me that gets a little bit more nerved up, I want a lot of mass weight. I kind of shoot a triggered shot, so I'm just looking for a nice, slow, soft, you know, sight picture so I can time it. But everybody's different. That's why you don't see, you know, two pros shooting the same setup.
Yeah.
It's impossible to get two guys to kind of hold and push and pull. And, you know, the Bee Stinger system is really nice because we can change the weights without actually changing the length.
You can change them on the fly.
You know, the weights are very thin.
Yeah.
And same thing with this Pro Hunter. That's what makes it so good for competition. Now we have adjustable weights, but they're very thin disc weights, so they're not changing the length of the stabilizer. And you would be amazed how much 2 or 3 inches on a stabilizer make a difference. I mean, it's dramatic sometimes. I'll take a 30-inch bar that I'm kind of struggling with my aim, put a 33 on it. It's just really soft now.
Yep.
So if you're ever around at a tournament and I'm set up there, you can come get the stabilizers out of the booth, check them out, and go try them out before you buy them. It is a high-ticket item. It's an expensive item. So we set up at the tournaments. You can go try the things. Sometimes the shops have them, you know, where you can take and shoot them. But you want to work on your sight picture. You know, when you're pulling into the shot and your bow's pulling up, that means I need more mass weight out front, okay?
Yep.
And for me, that's most of the time in a hunting situation, I'm running a single Pro Hunter out front with 16 ounces or so on it because I pull pretty hard into the shot. And I'll actually offset it kind of like this is over to the side of the bow. That helps offset the quiver weight. Or I'll run a rig like this, you know, where I can run a sidebar out here to kind of offset that. So
that's the nice thing about those Infinity is you can go up and down, side to side,
right,
whatever angle you want to do.
And it's very important, Jim, when we talk about overall moment arm, when we make it a moment arm, which is the length of the stabilizer from back to front, it has to be rigid in the middle too, because if we have crappy bracket system in the middle, you're basically negating the effect of the stabilizer.
Yeah.
So we put a lot of, you know, we put metal teeth in all our brackets. We do have an Infinity bracket that
that's not the Infinity.
That doesn't have teeth. That's for some of the top pros that want to micro adjust everything. But I still personally prefer the teeth. You just got to be careful with them that you don't strip them off. But that's, you know, a very, very good system. So your weights come in, you know, a bunch of different varieties. And
most stabilizers, you know, if somebody came into a shop and was looking at our, I mean, we have an aisle for stabilizers, right? It kind of blends from one to the other. The biggest thing would be logo would be different. But so on the surface, most stabilizers look the same. What's different on the inside? Are there different things on the inside? On the outside?
Sure. Well, the countervelt on this new micro hex bars is an actual layer of the actual thing, you know. And plus you have the little, you know, the dampeners on them too that help a little bit. But bows nowadays, when you got a parallel limb bow like this Matthews Halon, there is not a lot of shock in these bows anymore, and that's because the pressures are vertical. Okay. When you get a bow like, say for example, this Hoyt target bow where the limbs are more upright, they start to channel the energy more, and you'll see a little bit more vibration in the stabilizer system. What makes a bow, you know, what makes Bee Stinger different is I think that we're a stabilizer company. Okay, we've built this stuff. We've built hunting stabilizers from a competition background. You know, most of the best products in archery come from competition. Most of the best products in guns come from competition. Okay, the people using it in the field understand and know, you know, what is the desirable characteristics in a stabilizer. A lot of stabilizers simply no more than, you know, wrist strap holders. They don't do anything. You know, a lot of people get sold a bill of goods by just getting a little 6-inch stabilizer. It doesn't do anything for them really. And they should be using stabilizers to help them become a better shooter. If I were to walk into a shop and put a 12-inch Pro Hunter or a 10-inch Pro Hunter on 15 or 20 different average shooters, their shooting would improve almost instantaneously because that weight being put right on the end of that moment arm is slowing down their mistakes. So it's going to slow down their aim, but it's also going to slow down any torque mistakes and hand placement mistakes they make. You know, Mike Slosser is probably one of the best shooters in the world right now. You know, he made a comment to me last year. It kind of, you know, struck me, and I always remember it. Is he has this little form glitch where the arrow's always falling off his wrist, and he's always reaching up and putting it on with his finger. And I thought, Mike, why do you do that? He said, Tim, it doesn't matter. My bow's so heavy, it's going to do whatever it's going to do anyway. So, and he's got a point there. So you look at a lot of these top pros that are shooting very heavy stabilizer systems. It's because it makes them a better shooter. It does calm the motion down. You have to kind of build up to it. And a bow hunter should be no different, because nothing is going to help you at the moment of truth and your adrenaline's pumping, and there's really no negative to carrying a heavy bow up a tree stand. Now, if you're packing in for a sheep hunt or something, that's where I'm going to look at something like, you know, a counter slide system that's a little bit longer and lighter, because I don't want to pack the weight. I can get the leverage with length, or I can get it with weight, or a combination of both. So, you know, Levi Morgan a lot of times hunts with a 20-inch front bar on his Sport Hunter combo. He just feels like he's more accurate with it, and you're only going to get one chance. You know, a lot of times on big hunts like that. So you want to be able to capitalize on that. So I would encourage guys to really look at the performance level of stabilizers, because that's what Bee Stinger is. We are a performance stabilizer system. Okay, we build stabilizers for performance. Yes, we have 6-inch and 8-inch stabilizers, but we encourage people to look at our higher end setups, because it will make you a better shooter and bow hunter.
So first step being, you know, somebody grabs a bow off the shelf, right? We throw a sight on there for them, and they're coming to full draw, and they're feeling that bow wanting to go away. Your first step would be throwing something like this on, or, you know, where they're having troubles holding low. You know, they're
well, holding low can be a lot of things. I mean, there's things like loop height. Loop height is leverage. Draw length is leverage. Okay, you know, it kind of depends on the system. the first thing is, again, you want to cancel the reaction. Shoot the bow. If it's a brand new bow, brand new shooter, put the sight on there. If they're gonna be sitting in a tree stand and they're gonna shoot without a quiver, then you want to shoot the bow that way.
Yep.
Okay, you don't want to go back and forth because that changes how the bow rotates.
Yep.
You know, if I take this bow, for example, and I take all the stabilizers off, it's going to shoot a different tune usually than it will with the stabilizers on it. And that's because the stabilizers slow down the rotational force of the bow caused by the cable guard loading up at full draw. So, you know, you see that a lot. Kind of depends on the bow, really. If you got a bow like the Bowtech I shoot that has a flex guard that eliminates a lot of that loading, you don't see as much of that. So, but you definitely see it where you got cable guard systems.
Solid now.
Right. So you want to cancel the reaction first. You then start working on the, you know, it depends on what kind of level the guy's at. I mean, if he's got good form already, then you can start, once you cancel the reaction, we can start working on his aim.
Yep.
You know, what's the sight picture doing? Let's adjust it based on sight picture. It's kind of like a teeter-totter, right?
Yep.
If your sight picture's hanging out the bottom, you need more weight here.
Yep.
Or more length back here. It's leverage, right?
Yep.
So,
what is that, fulcrum?
Yeah.
We're getting fancy.
It's not, try to keep it simple.
Yeah. The teeter-totter's easier.
And if you're pulling hard into the wall and you're pulling the sight around, you need more weight out there.
Front. Yep.
It's called resistance.
Yep.
You know, when I shoot a heavier bow with heavier draw weight and heavier holding weights, I need less stabilizer weight. And people would think of it as exactly the opposite. It's not the case. When I shoot a 60-pound bow with less holding weight, I need more weight because I need the resistance that I don't have back here. So.
Makes perfect sense. Anything else you can think of as far as Bee Stinger you want to tell our customers of Wisconsin?
We have one question from Facebook Live. How does a youth stabilizer setup differ from an adult?
Well, you know, here's the thing on youth stabilizers. We have a very good system here for people getting started out. This is a Bee Stinger Freestyle kit. It comes with our competitor. It comes with a 30-inch and a 12. One thing I would encourage kids and women and getting started out is they can't usually hold a lot of mass weight, right? And the tendency is to put them into shorter bars when in fact they should probably just go longer bars and lighter, okay? If you put 1 ounce on a 30-inch bar, it's way better than putting 2 ounces on a 24, okay, as far as their sight picture. Bow hunting's kind of the only situation where you're kind of sacrificing performance for portability, okay? You shouldn't do that with target archery. They can stand the bow on the ground. I mean, if it's a kid's really small, then you might consider, you know, going to a shorter bar system, but it's just about keeping that moment arm long but light. If I decide I want to drop mass weight, I'm going to lengthen my bars because I can get the same effect with less mass weight. Okay?
That's fantastic. If we don't have any other questions?
We're good.
We're good? I mean, guys, this was a fantastic one from Tim and Bee Stinger. I believe this is our last one for the day. I really appreciate you guys following us along today. Tomorrow we'll be back at it. Tim, thank you so much for your time.
Hey, no problem.
Making us smarter, making me feel shorter.
All right.
Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your week. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks.